page 400. So yesterday we were talking about, I'm starting from Pasuk Aleph again. B'chodesh hashlishi l'tzeis b'nei Yisrael meretz Mitzrayim. On the third month, when they left Mitzrayim, Bayom hazeh bo midbar Sinai. So it tells you they came to midbar Sinai. The next pasuk then says, Vayisu mirfidim, they left Refidim, Vayavo midbar Sinai. They came to midbar Sinai. It repeats, right? It repeats. It seems like a needless repetition. Number one. Now, if you take a look at Rashi and Pasuk Beis, it's the right column of Rashi, 3 lines at the bottom. Vayisu mirfidim. Says Rashi, Lamo hutzrach lachzor lefarish beichanos. Why does it need to go and tell us where they came from? It already told us they were in Refidim. Obviously, that's where they went from. So why does they have to tell us, number one? And number two, it says they came to Midbar Sinai. Then it says they left Refidim and came to Midbar Sinai. So why does it have to tell us where they came from? We know they were in Refidim. That was the last place. That was the last location. In last week's episode, they were in Refidim. We know where they were, number one. And number two, it's like repetition that they came to Midbar Sinai. So Rashi answers, Ela lahakish nisiyosan mirafidim. It's to juxtapose their leaving Refidim lebiyosan lemidbar Sinai, to connect it. What's the connection? Ma biyosan lemidbar Sinai b'tshuva. Just as they got to Midbar Sinai, they were in a state of tshuva. Af nisiyosan b'Refidim tshuva. They have left Refidim. In other words, when did they do tshuva? Did they tshuva when they hit Midbar Sinai? Or did they do tshuva slightly earlier when they had left Refidim? So the Torah wants us to know that they already had done tshuva at Refidim. But then that begs the question, so why does it say they came to Midbar Sinai first? It should have just said they left Refidim and came. If you want us to know that they did tshuva in Refidim, so just say they left Refidim and then came to Midbar Sinai. It's like the whole thing seems a bit what do you call it? A bit repetitious. So one answer here is that sometimes if let's say you have a wedding, and at the wedding the bride arrives. That's the big moment. When the groom arrives, nobody cares. The bride, the kala is here. Right? The wedding is all about the kala, by the way. It's not about the groom. The groom, he's just signing his life away. Forget him, right? He's just taking responsibility for another human being. And please turn that off. He's just taking responsibility for another human being. He's insignificant, right? And she is putting her life in the hands of another human being. So you got to distract her. Make sure a lot of flowers there. So otherwise, so she won't think too much about what she's about. She's about to put her life in the hands of some 22-year-old who's never earned a nickel in his life. But when the kala arrives, that's the big news. When the kala arrives, nobody says, "Oh, where is she coming from?" Right, the first thing is the kala arrived. Oh, where was she? Oh, she was staying by this or staying there. Then the details come in. The Jewish people, the relationship between God and the Jewish people is the metaphorical relationship of the husband and the wife. And the marriage is at Har Sinai. The mountain being held over the Jewish people's heads is symbolic of the chuppah. God is the chassan, the bride is the kala, the Torah is the ring that's being given to them, that's the kinyan. So the big news is, in the first pasuk, they arrived at Midbar Sinai. The kala arrived. Klal Yisrael arrived. Now we can go to the details. And where did they came from? They came from Refidim, and that's how they arrived at Midbar Sinai. How did the kala get to the wedding hall? She took an Uber or whatever it is, a limousine or however it is, or whatever it is. Then you're worried about details. But the first thing, the kala arrived. Here, Klal Yisrael, the kala arrived. Klal Yisrael's the kala. Which, by the way, is why it's, how many days is it from when they got out of Mitzrayim? How many days is it from Pesach to Shavuos? It's 7 weeks, right? The 7 weeks. Now you know that in the laws of marriage, for a woman, she has to purify herself by counting 7 days by Torah law, 7 days of purity where she's not bleeding in order to be able to live with her husband. The Jewish people are in the 49th level of impurity. So they have to purify themselves to receive the Torah, which is the 49 days from Pesach, which we count the Omer, 49 days from Pesach, which is the engagement, to Shavuos, which is the marriage, which is a unit of 7 weeks, which is symbolic of the 7 days that a kala needs to purify herself. The unit of 7 for the Jewish people are the kala to purify themselves, so metaphorically. But there's another idea here. In the commentaries, I want to read you a piece of Gemara. The Gemara says that there was an argument between Rabbi Chanina and Rabbi Chia, two of Rabbi Yehuda Nasi's greatest Talmidim. There's a Gemara in Baba Betzia on Pei Hey Amud Beis. So the Gemara says that Rabbi Chanina, and Rabbi Chia were having an argument. So Rabbi Chanina said to Rabbi Chia, Behadei didi kaminsis? Are you arguing with me? Chas v'sholom imishtakra Torah mitzvah. If Torah would have been forgotten, mahadrana le mipilpule. I would have restored Torah with my sharpness. You're arguing with me? They're having machlokas in the Gemara. It's a pshat in the Gemara. The hair is considered as it's after it's considered mitkarka metalta. You're arguing with me? You talking to me? You argue with me? Right? If the Torah would be forgotten, I'm so sharp, I would restore the Torah. With my svara, I would restore Torah. So Rabbi Chia said to him, Amar le Rabbi Chia Rabbi Chanina, Pade didika, you're arguing with me? Dovid le Torah, the lo tishtakach. I made sure Torah wouldn't be forgotten. You're telling me what you would do if Torah would be forgotten. I made sure Torah wouldn't be forgotten. That's a step better. What that's got to do with arguing with people is something else. That's for a different time. But then the Gemara says, what did Rabbi Chia do? Now pay attention carefully. I went and planted flax, and I made traps out of these flax. I grew flax, and from the flax I made traps. And then I hunted deer with these traps, and I fed the meat to orphans from the deer. I shachted them, the meat to the orphans. And then I arranged parchments out of their hides. And I wrote 5 chumishes, and I went to a certain city, and I taught 5 children with the Chamisha Chumshei Torah. I taught 5 children chumish. And I taught 6 children 6 Sidrei Mishnah, the 6 orders of the Mishnah. And I told them, wait till I come back next time. By the time I come back next time, I want you to teach the Torah to each other. I want to teach the Mishnayos to each other. I made sure Torah wouldn't be forgotten. That means Rabbi Chia said, I went, I planted flax, I made traps, I trapped deer, fed their meat, the thing, I wrote the Torah, went around teaching. In other words, what he did was he spread Torah all over the place. And he taught the young, he taught the youth, and he made sure Torah wouldn't be forgotten. That's what the Gemara says. There's a lot of discussion on what's going on over here. By the way, the lesson when Rabbi Chia, I understand Rabbi Chanina saying, how could you argue with me? I'm so sharp. I'm so brilliant, and how could you argue with me? What's Rabbi Chia saying? I'm right because I taught Torah to other people. Well, what's what you got to do with the other? You can't argue with me because, I got a great jump shot, so you can't argue with me. Well, one thing, what to do with the other? The answer is that part of acquiring Torah, as we look at the 48 ways in Pirkei Avos, Torah is not like other disciplines where you acquire it simply by study. And you do your homework and you learn Torah. Torah has to do with perfection of character. Part of that perfection of character is spreading Torah. Nosei be'olim chavero. It makes you a receptacle for Torah. That's why Rabbi Chia is saying that doing this helps my svara. Right? If you look at Pirkei Avos at 48 ways, it says one of the ways to acquire Torah is nosei be'olim chavero. Nosei be'olim chavero means you help out other people. Can you imagine studying a college chemistry course? You're taking a chemistry course, and you got to study for your chemistry final. So how do you study? You go to your friend and help him because he's moving apartments. You help him move his furniture because you're studying for your chemistry, because you're no seba olim chaver. There's no discipline in the world that works like that. You got a chemistry final, so what you do is you make sure to know who you're sitting next to on that chemistry final, right? In order, right? Or you got to do a term paper, so you make sure you buy the right level grade term paper. That's how they do it nowadays, isn't it? Or if you're trying to get your doctorate, so you plagiarize without getting caught, like presidents of Harvard. But that one way or another, you got to do it responsibly. The last thing you're going to do is go moving furniture. Yet one of the 48 ways to acquire Torah is called nosei ba'olim chavero. You bear the burden with other people. What's it got to do with acquiring wisdom? The answer is because Torah wisdom is not like any other wisdom. Torah wisdom enters a human being because your neshama has been refined. You obviously have to study and you have to think and you have to work at it. but you also need a certain refinement of character. That's what Rabbi Chia was saying to Rabbi Chanina. Because I help spread Torah, therefore my svara, my ability to think Torah, is a more refined ability. That's the basic understanding of Gemara. But there's a bigger question here. The bigger question here is, first let's go to the Chumash. The Torah says, well, the Torah wants to let you know that not only they were in a state of tshuva by the time they got to the desert, their tshuva began when they already left Refidim. They had already done tshuva. I mean, does it really make a difference? Okay, you did tshuva an hour earlier, an hour later. What's the difference? You did tshuva. If you did tshuva, your errors are forgiven. What's the difference when you did tshuva? That's what the commentaries ask. So the commentaries answer based on this Gemara. What's the obvious question in this Gemara? There's an obvious problem in this Gemara. What's the obvious question? What Rabbi Chia did. There's something very, very puzzling about what Rabbi Chia did. What did he do? He says, I planted flax, I made traps, trapped the deer, so on and so forth. I don't understand. There wasn't a hunting supply store around? He had to plant the flax, harvest the flax, make the traps, hunt the, what do you call it? You couldn't go to a Safra store and buy some hides to write a Sefer Torah? You had to go make traps on your own? You couldn't plant, there's no trappers around to buy some stuff from? What's the Gemara telling you? The Gemara is telling you that what something is at its foundation has an effect on what the results are going to be. Rabbi Chia doesn't want to go buy traps by some, John's trap shop. I don't know how he trapped deers. Maybe he caused them excess pain. Maybe they weren't. We don't know where he got what he did. Rabbi Chia only knows one thing. If I do it, it's going to have a certain level of kedusha in it from the inception, from the very inception, from the time I planted the flax. It's already got kedusha. I don't know. I could buy his flax, but maybe he stole the flax seed to plant it. I don't know where his flax came from. My flax, that means the earlier something has the effect, the what you instill, the more of it's the foundation's got a kedusha. It's a rule in life in general. First impressions work that way too. When I was in high school, so they taught us. I was in a Yeshiva high school, and they taught us evolution. And the reason they did is because the biology books that were available all had evolution in them. Nobody was responsible enough to go inspect the books. Nobody, the right hand didn't know what the left hand was doing. This was not limited. This happened in many places where evolution was taught in religious schools. So I remember as a kid learning about evolution, and there are white buttons and black buttons and monkeys, and they got charts with man going from from what do you call it, from being an ape, all the charts he bent over. And this, I remember as a kid thinking to myself, when exactly during the 6 days of creation did this take place? Now, it wasn't, my academics were just not important enough for me to investigate this, so I didn't bother with it, and I left it. I had more important things on my mind. The Cubs, Bulls, Bears, Blackhawks. So it was far more important. But then, when I was about 20 years old, I was in a college biology class. I'm sitting in a lecture room with about 200 people. And the guy's talking about evolution. The lecturer is going through this evolution stuff, and I'm listening to this, and also at a certain point, I thought to myself, oh, they don't believe in creation. The coin finally dropped. And I'm looking around the room, and everybody else is just listening like this. Well, I'm the only person in this room of 200 people who actually realizes this is nonsense. Right? What now? My nephew, who was a frum kid who was raised in Israel, he came back, it's about 10 years later, he comes to me one day, and he's about 9 years old, and he's laughing. He says, somebody in the Cheder said that man comes from monkeys. And he thought that was hysterical, that somebody could think such a nonsense is true. Why? Well, what about the 200 people in a row? Well, you're indoctrinated from the earliest age. When you're indoctrinated from the earliest age, so that's the first impression. That's what, that's what they told me, so that's what I believe. This kid was indoctrinated with Torah from the earliest age, so when he hears nonsense, he laughs at the nonsense. By the way, there is one source in Torah that says man became monkeys. Not that way. At the Tower of Babel, it says when the Tower of Babel was destroyed, the Medrash says one third of the men were turned into monkeys. It doesn't say monkeys were turned into men. And what we see in society today certainly confirms that Medrash, right? We don't see more sophistication. We see less sophistication, right? So why does that happen? There's a funny story. Rav Shach Zatzal was the Gadol Ador. So a bacher came to Rav Shach and he said to Rav Shach, he's going on a shidduch. He has a shidduch. He's going to meet a girl for a shidduch, potential for marriage. But he's upset, he's nervous about something because he's a little shorter than the girl. Now, most girls, by the way, it doesn't bother them. Most guys, it does. And most guys cannot marry a girl who's taller. I know a couple of cases of guys who married girls who are taller, and not only they're a little taller. I know two cases of guys. The gap is like this, which just tells me that the guy has tremendous self-confidence, right? Because most guys wouldn't do it. Most guys will not go. So this guy comes to Rav Shach. The bacher comes to Rav Shach. He says, "Yeah, I'm going out with the girl, but she's a little taller than me. I'm worried she's not going to want to marry me. I'm shorter." So Shach says, "Put lifts in your shoes." So he says, "Rebbe, I could put lifts in my shoes, but eventually, she'll realize that, at some point she's going to realize, and if we get married, she'll certainly realize that, that I'm not." He starts laughing. He says, "It doesn't matter. The first impression is that you're taller." He doesn't mean that therefore you're going to have duped her. It means that the first impressions in life, the first impression leaves a lasting impression. And once you had that first impression, so here Rav Chia is teaching us that the first impression, and when it took place. So the Torah says, "Vayisu mirfidim." Well, what do I care? They did tshuva a little sooner or a little later. Yes, the sooner the better, as the saying goes. The sooner the better. That's going to have a lasting effect. Okay. Then we said yesterday, Yaakov, you had a question?
That impression, even though it's the first impression, doesn't it become one of dishonesty later on? So even though the first impression...
No, we always are dishonest. We're always dishonest in making first impressions. The guy who's been in college for 4 years and he's basically worn loincloths and earrings and drank beer, and then he finally graduates and he goes in, for his first job interview, and he puts on a suit and a tie. And you think the guy running the company doesn't know who this guy is? The guy running the company is looking at this guy. He knows that he's looked like a savage for the last 4 years. He knows he knows that he's put the Budweiser company out of business in the last. He knows what's going on. But the fact that you try to make an impression of the point, when a couple goes out on a shidduch, you think that the girl doesn't know the guy's on his best behavior? This is a guy who doesn't even know which one is the spoon and which is the fork. And all of a sudden he's behaving like a gentleman. Everybody tries to put their best foot forward. That's not a deception. She's also wearing high heels, right? And she's also on her best behavior. And he's also not interrupting her when she talks. Right? That also happens at a certain point, right? And it ends at a certain point. You know when? Harayat Mikudeshes leave. That's it. After that, it's all over. That's why you go, we're always trying to put a resume. So it's not a deception. You're trying to make it an impression. That's why Rav Shach didn't think, I don't believe that Rav Shach thought that she's so dumb she'll never realize he's shorter. She's not dumb, she's not blind. But their first impression, he's tall. And then later on, he's a little short, but their first impression it carries a tremendous. First impressions are everything. My wife, when I met my wife the first time, she also had a first impression. Her first impression was, I like him, but there's a lot of work to do. So she told me. That was her first impression. There's a lot of work to do. Boy, did she do a lot of work. She doesn't realize how much more there is to do, but we won't tell her. But at the end of the day, first impressions carry a tremendous amount of weight. Here, the Torah is talking about an impression of Kedusha. I don't want them eating for a deer that was trapped in some coarsely made traps. I want to plant the flags. That's the pshat in the Gemara. That's what the Mefarshim say. Okay. Then yesterday we were talking about the wings of eagles, and that the Jewish people came out the wings of eagles. We were talking about how that means they move fast. That he spoke to the men and the women. And by the way, it says that the women are put first over here. If you notice, it says the women are put first as a reward. Kosomar lebeis Yaakov esagi lebeis Yisrael. The women are put. So yesterday we talked about the different way of addressing each other. The women spoke to softer. Why are the women put first? It could have said kosage lebeis Yisrael v'somar lebeis Yaakov. Why? Not going ladies first, right? Why do they have the privilege of being spoken to first? It's a privilege. Oh, it was the merit of the women that we got out of Mitzrayim. Sometimes people accuse us of being male chauvinists in Torah and Judaism, male chauvinists. There's no chauvinism here. There are as many praises for the women in Torah as there are for the men. We got out of Mitzrayim because of the merit of the women. It says, B'schus nashim tzidkanios, they got out of Mitzrayim. The merit of the women. The feminists never cry about that. Oh, you're just being condescending. No, we're not being condescending. That's what the Chazal say. In Chazal, we're not condescending. And yes, the bracha shelo asani isha. I'm aware of the bracha. We make a bracha that Hashem didn't make me a woman. Right? Yeah, you know why we make that bracha? Do you know what the point? Huh?
Because it's true. We are happy about it.
Why are we happy about it? Well, if you ask, and I've asked this to rooms full of women. I've asked this to women group. Who has a more difficult physical existence, men or women? Women will tell you, of course women have a more difficult physical existence. Don't they go through? Men's bodies are consistent. Men's bodies are very consistent, unless, what do you call it? Except maybe Motzei Shabbos, right? The men's bodies are basically consistent. The woman's body goes through 3 changes. In the course of a regular month, her body goes through changes. Then on top of it, she's got to deal with pregnancy. Then on top of that, she's got to deal with childbirth. No party. No party. I see what's going on. I said, Shalom Sani Isha. Boy, am I glad I don't have to go through that. That's the plain meaning of it. There are deeper meanings about the privilege of doing the mitzvahs and so on and so forth. But at a basic level, you want to go through that? I don't want to go through that. They have bodysuits for men, so they could empathize with their wives. They have bodysuits where you have a pouch in front. And every day when a wife is pregnant, every day a man puts a few grains of sand in the pouch. So eventually they got 8 pounds sitting on your belly. I can't believe any man is dense enough to not take it off as soon as he gets into the car. You walk around the house only when your wife is up. You put on, as soon as she's out of sight, you take the thing off. Yeah, but you want to walk around with it. You know what a woman goes through during pregnancy. So that's a problem. There's nothing derogatory. Even the idea that women talk more than men. First of all, it's a fact. It's a fact. Women talk more than men do. But there's a reason for it. It's not a positive or a negative. It's a fact. It can be used both ways. If a woman uses her mouth to encourage people and build people up and compliment people, she can get her go olam haba with it. She has a reward every time she says it. So why did God give them the ability? Because somebody's got to educate the kids. The women are home with the children. Somebody's got to talk to the kids. I used to talk to the kids and say, don't. That's how they learned the word don't. They learned the word don't from me. Don't, right? That's what they are. That's all about all I said. That was the whole conversation. Daddy, could I? No. No. That's what they learned from the men. From the women, somebody's got to talk to them. If they misuse their speech, so they can talk a lot of lashon hara and gossip and hurt people's feelings and so on and so forth. It goes both ways. Do you know that the Medrash says women are more curious than men? It's a Medrash. And women are incredibly curious about every little detail. But that can be used positively. She's curious to find out who in the neighborhood is struggling financially that we could help, which woman had just gave birth so we could send over a meal, who is it that's maybe not feeling well so that we could help them out and get them some house help. That's what the positive use of curiosity is. So they're very curious. They're curious about their own family to keep their own people out of trouble. So number one, the women, it was the merit of the women that got us out of Egypt. Number two, their commentaries say, you know why the women are put first? Because women are more conscientious in how they do mitzvahs. How do you like that? And that's coming from men. Women are more conscientious, which is 100% true. Why do women don't need minyan in shul? Well, how come women don't have to daven in shul and men do? Why do we need a minyan? You know why? Because you know what it looks like when you're davening on your own. Davening on your own sets land speed records. Yeah. Davening on, it's amazing how fast those pages turn when you're davening on your own, because they probably don't turn at all. You only say one page, right? Women daven. Women really daven on it, but they daven. They're and they don't need it. They don't need it. So watch on the buses. You ever see women on the buses? They're all davening and saying Tehillim. What are men doing on the bus? Right? Women are always davening. They're davening, saying Tehillim, unless they're talking to each other. But a woman is more conscious. Women take care of the kashrus in the home. Can you imagine if men were in charge of the kashrus in the home? If you're hungry, men's attitude is, if I'm hungry, it's kosher. A woman's attitude is, I looked at the meat pot and I was thinking about milk. Right? The woman will take it, just dump the whole pot out. They're very machmir. Right? You can't trust men with that. What they do conscientiously. Women light candles on Erev Shabbos. A woman takes that seriously, that business. That's a what do you call it? They make Shabbos, they keep Shabbos, they keep the halachas, they're very conscientious. So they get the honor of going first. That's what it says. Okay. Now, take a look at Perik, where are we here? What pasuk is that? 1 second, I just lost that. Pasuk Hey. Pasuk Hey, sorry, skip. So we started this yesterday. Atem re'isem asher osisi leMitzrayim, va'ese eschem al kanfei neshorim, v'avi eschem elai. And then it says like this: Ve'ata im shamoa tishma bekoli. If you obey, if you listen to my voice, if you hearken my voice, how did the arts go translate? Hearken? Hey, there we go. Ve'ata im shamoa tishma bekoli. If you hearken my voice, ushmartem es brisi, and you keep my covenant, v'hiisem li segula mikol ha'amim, you will be a treasure for me from among all the nations, kili kol ha'aretz. The Jewish people will be a treasure. Now, there's something called a segula. I don't know if you've heard of a segula. Oh, it's a segula, right? People talk about a segula. And the word segula it's got different, in the plain meaning, how does the arts go translate? It's a treasure, a beloved treasure. But a segula means, according to some of the Mefarshim, certain things in life have certain characteristics which can't be explained, right? You could take a piece of metal, and this piece of metal exudes a magnetic field. Why? How? How does it work? Go explain it. It's metal that has its magnetism. Go explain magnetism. Go explain gravity. There are certain facts of life which we only know that it's there. We don't understand how it works or why it works. The Jewish people are an am segula. There are certain things about the Jewish people. We don't understand how we work, why we work. We only know, not the least among it was how we're still existing. How do we still exist? And not only how do we still exist, what's the power of Torah? Do you know that when they started the state of Israel, so there was a clash. There was a culture clash in Israel. It's a very interesting historical fact. There was a culture clash. What was the culture clash? The secular state was founded by secular Jews. You had you had a handful of Torah Jews. Now, how are we all going to get along? Right? Is it going to be, Israel itself, by the way, the modern state of Israel is an inherent contradiction because it's a democracy with a Jewish democracy. It's a contradiction in terms. That democracy means we don't look at race, color, or creed. Religion, race, color, or creed. This is a Jewish democracy. It's a contradiction in terms. If you think about what democracy really is, what the founding fathers of America, what they called democracy. Democracy means we don't look at your background at all. You are a person. We don't care what you are, what color you are, what your religion is, we don't care. And this is a Jewish democracy. Right? It's just this contradiction in terms. Now, you had another problem here, because within Judaism, you have two streams. You've got the secular stream and you got the religious stream. And right from the outset, there was a clash. So the biggest clash was the mandatory conscription of women in the army. Because the secular wanted the women in the army, and the religious said for women to go into the army is what's called Yehareg V'Yavar. They have to give up their lives rather than go into the army because of the immorality and all the other. We do not put a woman under the jurisdiction of other men unless it's her father or husband. So you had this clash. So Ben Gurion, who was the first prime minister, the leader of the group, so they wanted to have this deferment for yeshiva students. At the time, the original deferment for yeshiva students involved, I think, about 400 students. And Ben Gurion convinced his followers, don't worry about it, because within a generation or two, there aren't going to be any more yeshiva students. Right? You know how many deferrals there are now in Israel? You know how many yeshiva students are in Israel now? There are more than 400. Right? There are more than 400. There are about, at last, I think the number of high school level yeshiva students, besides Cheder, high school level yeshivas, I think, is 80,000. Right? That's more than 400. So what changed? What happened? How did it happen? Why are people getting involved in it? We don't understand. It's a skula. It's something that cannot be explained. We only understand that it has an effect. Just like you find other things in the world have an effect. But more than that, take a look at Rashi. Because the pasuk says, V'ata im shamoa tishvu bekoli. Now look at the words for a second, gentlemen. What would you say is the number one item of Judaism, the one area of Judaism, the one mitzvah in Judaism, which identifies you as a Torah Jew? What's the number one, the mitzvah that we associate with being a Torah Jew? Shabbos. Shabbos. We even talk about, is he Shomer Shabbos or not Shomer Shabbos? Shabbos is the line. Are you Shomer Shabbos doesn't mean you make Kiddush and eat Shalom. Shabbos means that you keep the halachas of Shabbos. Is he Shomer Shabbos or not Shomer Shabbos? And it's got halachic ramifications. Somebody who's not Shomer Shabbos, he has the status, he's 100% Jewish, but he has non-Jewish status. That means he cannot be relied upon, he can't be a test, he can't be a witness. If he touches wine, the wine from the bottle is open, the wine, you cannot drink the wine. You always determine, so you can't count him in a minyan. Is he Shomer Shabbos or he's not? Nobody says, oh, is he a Shomer Kashrus? Nobody says, is he a Shomer Tefillin? You could count him in a minyan under certain circumstances, but lechatchila, it's problematic. But is he? We don't say is he a Shomer Tefillin? Oh, he's a Shomer Shatnez, right? Is he Shomer Shabbos or not? Shabbos is the line of obedience to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He's not Shomer Shabbos. You'll find that's why, ironically, you may have Jews who keep kashrus. They keep kosher at home. They won't even eat kosher out, but they don't keep Shabbos. You will almost never have a Jew who's Shomer Shabbos but doesn't keep kashrus. Now, they may compromise it a little bit here and there, but as a complete carte blanche, I've never met that. I've never met a Shomer Shabbos Jew who just eats treif liberally. There are plenty of Jews who keep kosher. They keep Pesach, but they were not Shomer Shabbos. Shabbos is the line. If you take a look, watch this. Ve'ata im shamoa tishvu b'koli. If you obey my statutes. Look at the first three letters on those three words. Shamoa tishmu b'koli. Look at the letters. Shin, shamoa, tishmu, taf, beis, b'koli, shin. You see the second line, 402, second line from the top. Ve'ata, now, im shamoa tishmu b'koli. Second line from the top, 402. Shin, taf, beis. If you rearrange the letters, what do you get? Shabbos, right? That is obeying Hashem is Shabbos. Shabbos. It's not only Shabbos, you got to do everything, but im shamoa tishvu b'koli. Now, take a look at Rashi. Where's the Rashi here? Where is it? Yes. Okay, Rashi is going to teach us another life lesson. Ve'ata, and now, im ata tekablu aleichem, if you accept it upon yourself, yerav lachem mikan va'elach. It'll become sweet, enjoyable, pleasurable from this point onwards. Shekol hascholos kashos. All beginnings are difficult. Kol hascholos kashos. All beginnings are difficult. That's a life rule. That's a rule in life. That means almost anything you start in life, the beginning is difficult. It's challenging. There's the initial excitement. Wow, I got my first job. I graduated law school. Now I got my first job. And you put on your suit. You go to work, and then you all of a sudden, at a certain point, you just kind of run into a. It's like, whoa. You're getting hassled by the boss and you're overwhelmed with work. You didn't realize when you first start a new school, there's meeting new friends. Kolas cholos koshos. Everything in life at the outset is challenging. You're not used to it. When a person gets involved in learning Torah is, and especially Gemara learning, it's very, very challenging. It's very, very challenging. But if you pursue it, if you're persistent with it, then it becomes sweet. Then you actually develop a taste for it. It's very much like, the Gemara, the Gemara compares Torah to milk, or compares Torah to fig trees, compares Torah to oil. I compare Torah to beer. Right? When you drink beer the first time, my grandson, by the way, last Shabbos, what do you call it, that Glenmorangie that you brought me? How do you bring it, Glenmorangie? So I had some of that Glenmorangie, and I actually shared with my son-in-law. My son and my son, each one had a little bit. My son left, there was a little bit in his glass, and he was holding his 1.5-year-old son on his lap, and he was looking away, and the kids saw this like orange juice in the cup. So the 1.5-year-old, he takes a good thing. There's only a little bit. He takes like this, all of a sudden, you know, he got like a little, exactly like I do when I drink. You know, so he what do you call it? By the way, smooth going down. It burned a little bit afterwards, but I like it. The what do you call it? So he you know, beer. To this day, I can't stand this stuff. To this day, I can't drink it. I can't stand beer. I can't stand the smell. Can't stand the taste. When you drink beer the first time, it's not that great. It's like coffee. You got to develop a taste for it. When you drink beer, all of a sudden beer tastes good. Those who like beer love beer. And not only that, then you get a buzz. That's exactly what Torah is. When the first taste of Gemara, you know, it's like a little you know, I don't know, this stuff's kind of rough. Then you start getting into it. Then you get the buzz. So as Vim Shema, you start out. But there's a life rule. Kol has-cholos kashos. Every relationship is tricky in the beginning. When you have your first baby, you know, it's like when parents have their first baby, you are overwhelmed. You don't know what hit you. You got this 8 pounds of ooey gooey that cries at all hours of the day, and you got to change diapers. You got to feed the kid. You got to pay for it. Kol has-cholos kashos. Torah is difficult. When you get a person's a Baal Tshuva, the challenges that a Baal Tshuva goes to. I want to tell you guys something. You know, one day Mashiach's going to come. Amen. Should be soon. Amen. And what's going to happen is there's going to be a long line of people waiting to meet him, shake his hand, get an autograph, get a bracha from Mashiach. Autograph's probably not. Get a bracha from Mashiach. You're going to be in line. You're going to be in line there, right? I hope I get in line. You'll be in line. Then you're going to get up. You know what Mashiach's going to say to you? He's going to say, who are you? He'll say it nicely. Who are you? Shalom Aleichem. Who are you? You know what you're going to say to him, or what you should say to him? Say to him, oh, you should really know me because I'm the one who brought you. That's who you guys are. Because it's not easy. It's not easy. This is what's so easy to make adjustments, to deal with family and hassles. And this one's giving me a hard time. What kind of extremist are you? What kind of cult are they? Are they brainwashing you over there? And what are you going to do at Parnasset? I don't want you to die of starvation. All the music that you get around it. But it's so easy to deal with that. And then you got to get used to all the, I thought I'd make an Asher Yatzar because it's a big piece of bread. No, Asher Yatzar is for the bathroom. This is something else. For a big piece of bread, you bench. Oh, I thought I bench on Rosh Chodesh. No, that's you got to bench every, And all the confusion. Shabbos, I'm not allowed to turn the lights switch on. Oh, oops. You know, and all the confusion. What's so easy? It's not easy, but eventually you get into it. I just got a call last night from a guy in the United States who is looking for direction in life. And he's not observant, and he doesn't like his job, and he's just reaching out, which I admire very much. He's reaching out, and he got my number, I think, from the. He wants to know what I could suggest for him in life. I said the only way a Jew will ever get any satisfaction in life, it's not unfortunate, it's a reality. It's like going to a doctor. You know, you go to a doctor because you got a sore throat, and he says you need antibiotics. He says, yeah, but I don't put chemicals in my body. You know, what do you want me to give you? What should I do for you? This is the treatment. There is no other treatment. A Jew who's looking for fulfillment and satisfaction, the treatment is to live a life of Torah observance. That's the treatment. That's the only thing. A Jew without that, he's missing the basic ingredients that. Within that, he has to find the areas that he gravitates to, but Torah learning or chesed, whatever it is. But that's the only thing that provides satisfaction. There is no other. What would you like me to tell you? You should watch more movies. That's not going to do it, because that's just a reality. We got to talk truth. So Rashi's telling you, in the beginning it's going to be challenging, but if you stick with it, it's going to be more. Number one. Number two, im shamoa, if you listen, you'll hear. That means the only way to gain understanding of Torah is by starting to understand Torah. The more you listen, the more you start with. You start with Shamoah, then Tishma'u. If you listen, you're willing to learn, you'll learn more. The irony of Torah learning is that the more you learn, the more you're able to remember. In most areas of life, the more information you have, some of it you start forgetting. Torah, the way Torah works is the more Torah you learn, the more Torah you're able to grasp and you're able to contain. It's a strange thing. That's why it's a segula. It doesn't make any sense. The more facts you have to memorize in chemistry, the more you're going to forget. One thing doesn't help you with something else. In Torah, the more Torah you learn, the more Torah you're able. It's almost like a magnet. It draws more Torah. So the Torah says, "Im Shema Tishma." If you learn a little bit, then you'll be able to learn more. Okay. Let's see, where are we here now? Okay, do we have time? Okay, we have to stop. We'll continue our mitzvah. I want to finish up a couple of points next week, and then we'll go on to Parsha Mishpatim. All right.